Hello everybody, this is Phoenix Cindy, and I am back with another Lizargon devlog. Last devlog, I had to start over my entire freaking project in Godot because the whole Unity situation. However, it did turn out quite well for me, because I was able to sort of remake all of Lizargon's movement in a programmed way instead of depending on the physics systems and whatnot, and overall, it turned out polished and just a lot better than before. If you want to learn more information about what Lizargon is and its movement mechanics and all that stuff, you can check out the previous devlog and also other videos on my channel. For now, I am going to focus on the progress that I made since that last devlog, which is the camera and the combat. First of all, the camera. In the previous Unity version of Lizargon, I actually didn't make a sufficient camera. I was using some crappy camera I made in a couple of minutes and intended on making a better one a lot later. Let's just say that I learned the hard way how annoying a bad camera is, especially during testing. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to make the camera now. I'm already restarting the project. I finished up the movement. I think we need a camera. And plus, getting a camera done early allows it so that there's a lot of time to tweak it and to add little modifications to it if needed. Just gives it a lot more time to be polished because a camera is one of the most important systems in a game. So because of Lizargon's nature of being a really fast game, the usual 2D platformer camera was not going to work. Your speed can change in a dime, and the direction of your speed can just change instantly. A regular 2D camera that sort of damps left and right and whatnot would just completely wreck you. Like, you wouldn't be able to see where you're going. So Lizargon's camera is actually anchored to the player. I know every single camera tutorial tells you not to do this, but just trust me. If I had the normal camera of damping around, you wouldn't be able to see where you're going. Therefore, the camera is anchored to the player, but does have a lot more movement so it doesn't feel as stiff. And also makes it so that you can actually, read and play the game. For the zoom of the camera, it is dependent on your speed. The faster you're going, the farther out you'll zoom. If you lose all your speed in an instant, or you just start going really slow, the camera will slowly zoom back in. Sort of to push you, hey, you should be probably going a little faster, or hey, you just lost all your speed, here's the terrain so you can rebuild it. I want to nudge the player into playing the way Lizargon is intended to be played. Going fast, using all your movement, zooming around the terrain as well as you can, as efficiently as you can, because trust me, the terrain will not be easy to navigate. The camera also slightly offsets in the direction of your speed. This is a little subtle and a little slower because your direction of your speed can switch on a dime, but if you're moving upwards for like more than a second, you will notice that the camera will move in a way so that you can see more upwards or more downwards or more left or more right or etc. This is sort of to allow you to see more up ahead, especially if there's like a long stretch where you're just going to the right. You can see what's going to the right, or what's coming up on the right direction, I should say, and be able to react accordingly. There are a few more minor features the camera has, though they're more to help with the feel of the camera over functionality. For example, when you're charging a move, such as a dive jump, absorb jump, switch jump, etc., the camera is set to slightly zoom in more for the satisfying build-up and release. Sort of a more minor detail, more for the camera feel. There's also a zoom in whenever you take damage to emphasize the hit. So if you got hit, the camera will zoom in pretty dramatically and be like, hey, you got hit, you should probably do something about that. And finally, it does have a little variable that makes it so that you will zoom out and get offset, or the camera will offset faster if you gained a lot of speed. So for example, if you did a hefty dive jump from a cliffside and you gain like 50 meters per second or something like that, you will notice that the camera will zoom out quite dramatically, offset quite dramatically to compensate for that huge boost in speed you just got. And this works in any direction, so on and so forth. Overall, I'm pretty proud of the camera. I think it turned out pretty well, and I think it fits with Lizargon's game design because, as I said, a normal camera just wouldn't cut it. However, if I am tweaking the camera a lot, just don't be surprised. Camera is very important. This system works, but obviously during testing and when I'm making the game, I might need to tweak a few things. But the fundamental system of the camera and its fundamental ideas will not change. I don't think they will change. It is essentially the most useful camera I could think of for this type of game. Now, okay, I've talked enough about the camera. The combat, the fun stuff, the violence, the stuff you love, the thing that'll hopefully not get my game hated by a whole bunch of parents or something like that. The combat. Taking damage still functions the same way as the old Unity version. So it cuts off all your velocity, gives you a knockback, slows down time, and just overall tells you, hey, you got hit. And gives you the consequence of, you got hit, you got no more speed, you got to build it up again. There isn't a health system yet, as there are no checkpoints, no saving system, no levels. Like, why create a health system and a death system if you don't have checkpoints? So that will have to hold on until I start on the actual levels. Don't worry, it's pretty easy. It's just, hey, this is the amount of health you have. You got hit, take off a point. Oh, you're at 0, you died. Go to the last checkpoint. In terms of dealing damage, Lizargon has gone through quite the combat revamp, making it significantly simpler, but significantly more satisfying and effective. So if you have seen my old videos on the combat, ignore them. Like, the combat has been changed pretty considerably when dealing damage. So, the game is heavily focused on speed. You already know that. The combat is also heavily focused on speed. The main concept behind it is that the faster you're going, the more damage you're doing. Because Lizargon's movement should be your first most certain of it should be your focus of attention. The combat is controlled only by one button. Obviously, there are elemental abilities that I will make soon when I get to them, when I get to their respective areas that will also have their own like little ways of dealing damage and yada yada. But your main way of like fighting is your one single slash button, so that you can focus on actually moving. Your attack is your slash, which is size and strength increases with your speed. The slash is 8-directional, so it's dictated by whatever of the 8 main directions you're inputting when you slash. You know, up, down, left, right, and the diagonals. Let's say there are a couple enemies in your slash area. In the previous Unity version of Lizargon, damage on enemies would build up until your slash's strength either ran out or all the enemies were dead. So if the slash's strength ran out, you'd get an underkill knockback, and if your slash didn't run out, you'd get a overkill slowdown period where you could spin around and slash more enemies, whatever. These were my attempts at balancing the slash while still making it feel powerful, but it just didn't really work that well. It pushed you to be more evasive, to fight one enemy at a time, and that's not the point. The point of Lizargon's combat is to be, oh, you're going fast, here's your reward, you can kill more effectively. So, you know what? I just didn't like it. The slash felt weak and brittle and would have pushed for you to play in a different way. So you know what I say? Screw balance. I'm the developer of this game. I can balance it however the frick I want. What overkill slowdown period to spin crap? You slashed an enemy, you slashed it. You missed an enemy in your slash? Well then spin around and slash it. You missed it, use your movement to get back to the enemy if you're so desperate to kill it. What thing of, like, I don't even know, like, slash build-up damage or whatnot? You are a lizard-like creature wielding dual katanas, zooming faster than the legal highway speed limit. Like, you should not be restricted to just having a slash build-up damage. If there's 200 enemies in your slash area while you're breaking the sound barrier, you should be able to slash those enemies with the power of a angry god. I mean, you're not a god in this game, but, like, you get my point. Your slash should be powerful. You should feel powerful. You should feel like a powerful lizard zooming around, slashing anything in sight. So, yeah, there's no more slash build-up damage. Like, I took it off completely. If your slash's strength value is 20, and there's 10 enemies in your area that have 19 health, they're all dead. Like, it just... no slash build-up damage, none of that sugarcoating. You're going fast, and there's an enemy, they're dead. However, this does create a lot of more, like, major changes or whatnot. I don't know if you want to call it butterfly effect or whatnot. But this one fundamental change changed all of Lizargon's combat. So, for one, the definition of underkilling in Lizargon has changed. Underkilling is now defined as when one single enemy in your slash area has more health than your slash strength. If that happens, you've underkilled. That means that you will get the knockback to either not crash into the enemy or a little knockback boost if you're moving away from the enemy as a little compensation for not being able to kill it. Overkilling now is just when your slash is more powerful than the enemies in your area. There isn't a build-up, it is just every single enemy in that area is going to die by the slash. You've overkilled, you conserve all of your speed, and you just keep zooming by. So, what does this do now? The slash is simplified, but there's still a whole bunch of other ideas or whatnot. The other mechanics in the combat previously, like shockwaving and all that stuff, those were also futile attempts at trying to make the slash feel powerful. So because of this change, the slash is powerful now. It feels good, it feels powerful, and it has a sort of consequence of if you're not going fast enough or if an enemy is just really, really beefy. So there isn't a shockwave anymore. I hate to say it, but it's just no more shockwave. Your slash can already go through walls. If there's an enemy behind a wall and you want to kill it, then just go fast enough to be able to reach it with your slash area. No shockwaving, just simple slash. This also helps it so that you can focus more on your movement than fighting. Or, I don't even know how to explain this. The more you move, the better you do at fighting. Therefore, the more focus you put on your movement, the better you will do at dealing damage. So by simplifying the way of dealing damage, you have therefore increased the focus on the movement and therefore increased the effectiveness of your damaging. I don't know if that helps explain my logic behind this. Just understand, the slash has been revamped. There's no more damage buildup. It is just you slashed, you killed, you didn't kill. Okay, get a knockback. There are still parries, though. Parries are still a thing because I think they are still a strategically viable thing, especially if you're at really, really low health. So with parrying, you will enter a pre-parry freeze. If there's an enemy in your slash area that is parryable, or in other words, a PP freeze. If your PP is frozen, then you can either press the slash button again or wait for the time to expire. If you slash again, you will execute a parry, which doubles your slash strength and size, but at the cost of all your speed. If you've seen previous videos of mine, you will know that the combat also focuses on aggressive healing. So if you deal more damage, you heal more. But that obviously there's no healing system here yet. But just know that's a thing. So the parry is very viable for if you want to deal a load of damage or if you really need to heal. However, if you wait for the PP to unfreeze, then your slash will continue as normal, either underkilling or overkilling or yada yada. So, these are the combat changes I made to Lizargon. In my opinion, I think they're pretty good. The slash feels strong, it feels powerful, and it allows you to be more focused on your movement and therefore increase your damage output. And that is all the progress I've made on Lizargon so far. I'm pretty happy with it. I have an actual camera system that benefits Lizargon's game design, and the combat is streamlined and pretty ready for enemies to be programmed and implemented. Granted, there are no elemental abilities or health system or checkpoints or anything like that, but I will get to those when I get to those. I'm honestly really surprised at how fast Lizargon's development is going. Like, I was working on this passion project before, and it would take me a really long time to get things done, but now it's just going really fast, and I can't really pinpoint why. The funniest thing is I just can't pinpoint exactly what it is. Is it Godot being simpler and faster than Unity? Or maybe it's just me doing actual coding instead of visual scripting? I don't know. My theories are it's probably either Godot is simpler and faster to use, I'm using actual coding instead of visual scripting, and I develop my own sort of way of coding that allows me to sort of code faster and read the stuff faster. I mean, it's cursed, to be honest. There's comments everywhere and it's like blank lines galore, but it works. Or another theory I have is that it's probably because I'm sort of working on Lizargon during class. I have good grades, don't worry, but sometimes class gets a little boring, so I'm just on my laptop working. Don't fret, I have good grades. You don't have to worry. And I'm not gonna blow anything up in my future career, don't worry. But it could also be because I have a new development plan. If you haven't noticed, and if you haven't been listening, my development plan is to only make things that are absolutely necessary at that time. Movement is absolutely necessary to get things going. Get the movement done. Elemental abilities don't apply until you get to those specific areas. Don't work on the elemental abilities. Wait until you get to those areas. Oh, we need a camera? Let's get the camera done. We don't need checkpoints yet because there are no levels, so don't work on the checkpoints. It is very streamlined, it is very specific, it is very only do what is absolutely necessary. But then there's also the thing of, hey, maybe it's because I have an unhealthy attachment to this game that I really want to get done, and I'm also filled with rage from the Unity situation. I don't know, possibly a combination of all the above. But Okay, the big question. What's next for Lizargon? What's next in development? My answer to you is the art style. I really want to implement my unique art style into Lizargon. And when I say I want to implement my art style, I mean every part of it. The scratchy outlines, the textures and the coloring and shading, the character designs and the shapes and all that stuff, all of it. In the previous Unity version, I made the mistake of making a model and starting on the animation right away because I was desperate to see my creation start moving and animated and yada yada. But that was a pretty big mistake, and that's my fault. I need to get the art style down before I start importing models and animations. So the next bit is going to be me just learning how to make good visuals in Godot, how to use shaders, how to get models imported, how to get them looking good, how to implement my art style into this game. There is one problem. I've never done this stuff before, much less in an ultra stylized game, because I really want it to have an art style that you can see and immediately recognize as that is the Lizargon art style. I don't want it to be some generic pixel art thing. I don't want it to be some generic thing. I want it to be my art style, my passion project, my game, my touch, my artistic touch in it. So it's going to take a while for the next Lizargon devlog, or it might go fast. I don't know. I've never done this, so I got to see. Don't worry, I will be drip feeding small little progress videos as I go along and as I make progress on implementing my art style. But just expect that because the art style is such an important part of this passion project to me, I am going to focus on honing it in. After the art style, I will then start working on the other stuff like the animation and the sound effects and the levels and yada yada yada. But yeah, that's all I can say really. I made quite a bit of progress on this passion project so far. And it's going really well. It's going a lot faster than I expected. I got the movement done last devlog. This devlog, I have the camera and the combat. And then for the next devlog, I am going to hopefully have art style implemented either by shaders or a pipeline method of importing models and yada, yada, yada. I don't know. I am hoping, in all honesty, that this game can be the next, indie platformer hit or whatnot. But if not, I don't care. This is a passion project, and I am having a lot of fun with it. Only the future can tell, though. For now, I'm just a college student filled with fatigue and sleep deprivation, working on my passion project in my free time and during class when class gets pretty boring. So until next devlog, don't worry, I'll be drip feeding videos, but just stay tuned. We'll see how this goes, and hopefully I can implement my visual style into this game.